episode of the H+H Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Hicks. We got a really, really good episode in store for you. You know why? Because it's H+H. You know, you got to have that positive mindset if you want to be the best pod in the world, okay? If you guys are starting a pod, take that mindset. Best pod in the world. I have that mindset today. Anyway, little no reason tangent right there, but today we are going to be predicting the college football playoff bracket for the upcoming 2025 season. This was really, really fun to do. I love the 12-team playoff format that they added last year. I think it was much needed for more than four teams. Four teams just felt a little too little. Like, they needed more than two from the BCS era, if you guys remember that era. But four just felt too little. I thought six was just a good sweet spot, if you guys remember me talking about that with Jackson. I thought six was just a good sweet spot. You have the top two seeds as buys, and then the rest would work similarly to the 14 playoff. But they went with 12. It was super, super fun last year. There was a little bit more blowouts than you would like, but I thought the 12-team playoff was super, super fun. I hate that I didn't cover any of it last year, but stuff happens. We're looking forward. We're looking forward. Another thing, if you're starting a pod, look forward. Don't look in the past. Okay, forward is where it's at. Moving on, we are talking about the 12-team playoff today. We're predicting it for the upcoming 2025 season. It's going to backfire. Like, it's going to look bad at the end of the season. I know it is. Okay, some teams are staples. They're not going to miss the playoffs. But, some teams, I have some shots in here. I have some half-court shots, some chucks that are going to look bad. They're just good. They just are, okay? Give me some grace, okay? I don't have Memphis in here. That's not what I'm implying. I'm humble, okay? I have some shots, okay? Be forewarned, all right? But without any more needless yapping, let's jump straight into the episode. And before I start, please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you guys haven't already. Follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts. We are wherever you guys get your podcasts. Amazon, I think Google Podcasts is a thing. If you listen to Google Podcasts, bro, there are way, way better options for you, I promise. But yeah, subscribe to the YouTube, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when I actually upload an episode. Follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars over there. Leave us a review. Tell us, nice things. Pump up the algorithm so I can blow up here. So yeah, let's jump straight into what we got talking about here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see this fancy little graphic I have up on the screen here, to help us better keep up with what I'm about to talk about here. So in the playoff, last season, it was way different than it is this year. It's not way different. That's a lie. But it is a little different than it was last year. This is coming directly from the NCAA themselves. The new 12-team college football playoff field will include the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, which will receive automatic bids, which means 4 power conference champions and then a group of 5 champion. The 7 highest-ranked teams remaining will round out the 12-team format. So 7 at-large teams, 5 conference champions. Makes up 12. As of 2025, the teams ranked numbers 1 through 4 will also be seeded numbers 1 through 4 and receive a first-round bye. Previously, in the first edition of the 12-team college football playoff during the 2024 season, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions received a first-round bye regardless of ranking. That is a very, very big change. Because last year, Boise State was ranked 3, whereas this year, they would probably be ranked 12 because they are a group of 5 team. So what they're doing is they're just ranking the best 12 teams outside of, the group of 5 team that will be ranked 12. I just think they'll always be ranked 12. Like, I don't know. Regardless of who they are and how well they did, I just think a group of 5 teams is always going to be 12. I don't really necessarily think that's a hot take. But you guys know what I'm saying. Like, they're just going to rank the 12 teams. Like, they're just going to rank them 1 through 12. They're not going to do, this team has to be here because they won their conference. Like if you won your conference, you get a bid. You're not necessarily guaranteed a certain spot in the playoff. I hope you guys can understand. I'm not very good at explaining things, as you guys know. So let's get to it. Let's go to the number 12 spot here. I'm in between the number 12 spot. Like I said, this is the group of 5 team. There are a lot of viable group of 5 teams. There's really like a handful. There's really like a handful. There's like 5. And I'm down to 3. And the main 3 I am down to are Boise State, who made the college football playoff as a group of 5 team last season very loudly, with Ashton Jeanty on their team, almost breaking the all-time rushing record in a season. Jeanty was an absolute animal last season. At first, I was one of those people that said he was robbed of the Heisman Trophy. You could make a very good argument that Ashton Jeanty should have won the Heisman Trophy last season. But I've come around to saying that Travis Hunter did deserve it. I really don't think we'll see anybody like Travis Hunter ever again in the collegiate level. I just don't. I'm in between. Boise is one of the first teams I'm in between here. Boise, like I said, is coming off a college football playoff appearance last year in 2024. I think they are the consensus favorite to repeat at playoff appearances. Like I said, they did lose some key players like Ashton Jeanty, edge rusher Ahmed Hassanine. I apologize if I mispronounced that, and wide receiver Cam Camper. Spencer Danielson did, third-year head coach, did add some key guys like Malik Sherrod from Fresno State and returning back Sire Gaines. And they're returning 4 of their 5 offensive linemen from last season, led by Cage Gacy. Maddox Madsen also returns at quarterback. Was all right last season. I don't think he was necessarily spectacular. He definitely didn't, carry them and win them games sometimes. But he is a good quarterback, especially for the Mountain West and for Boise State. This is a retooled team. They did lose, they didn't lose as much as you think they would after a team that made a playoff appearance. Like the last group of 5 team that made a playoff, Cincinnati, they lost literally everybody. So Boise State didn't lose as much as I believe is making them out to have lost. But yeah, I think their key games this year, they play at Notre Dame this year, which is going to be a really, really tough game. Notre Dame is also a team that lost a lot, and they play at South Florida week 1, I believe. South Florida is not just, a terrible team that, they're coming up. They're not necessarily unbelievable, but they're coming up for a group of 5 team. They were a team that I kind of considered, not very seriously, but I kind of considered them at this spot here. Yeah, Boise, the favorite to, repeat as the group of 5 representative in the college football playoff this season. But like I said, I was in between 3 teams here, and the second team I was considering here is Navy, an American Conference team. Navy had a really, really good season last year, beating my Tigers. You can't really see it in the screen here, representing in the hoodie here. Navy started 6-0 last season, started very, very strong. They did ultimately end up missing the American title game. They did beat Army last year in the Army-Navy game, but they did finish with 10 wins. They beat Oklahoma in the Armed Forces Bowl. They are returning a ton of production from last season, mainly quarterback Blake Horvath, and their fullback Alex, is it Teka? I don't know how to say that. I apologize. But you guys know how it's spelled. Alex, Tecza. Just an unbelievable spelling, but also an unbelievable player. Unbelievable spelling for unbelievable player. They're 2, lead backs in the backfield, look at quarterback and at fullback / running back. You know how they do things. They bring back both of their coordinators, Drew Cronick, was just a great coordinator for them last season. Had one of the best offenses in Navy history, and had a really really good defense. They were third in the American in defense last season. They also one of their key games. They also visit Notre Dame this season. They play Notre Dame every year, but they go to Notre Dame this year. It's gonna be a tough game for them, and they play at Memphis. This, if you guys watched my last episode with Eli, we predicted the SEC standings for the upcoming 2025 season. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. It was a fun one. I did mention in the last video when I said Arkansas, I predicted Arkansas was going to lose at Memphis. Memphis is a very, regardless, I know I'm a homer here. I'm wearing Memphis stuff. I have Memphis stuff in the background. Objectively, Memphis is a tough place to play in college football. We are top 5 in home wins in the past decade. That's just a fact. Regardless of how I feel about the Tigers, regardless of how you feel about the Tigers, that is a fact. Memphis is top 5 in home wins in the past decade. Memphis is an objectively tough place to play for anybody. So that is a key game, I think, for Navy. Can they beat the Tigers 2 years in a row? Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very tough for Navy. But I do think they do have a strong case, even if Notre Dame is just their one loss. A 12 and they win the American, a 12-1 Navy has a very, very strong case for the college football playoff. Moving on to the third team I considered was the James Madison Dukes, JMU, up in Virginia. They've been really, really good since they moved up from the FBS in 2022. Kirk Cignetti, the Indiana coach, was the coach at JMU before going to Indiana and led them to a playoff appearance. Bob Chesney is their coach. I believe he came from Holy Cross. They went 9-4 last season with him, and they beat North Carolina 70-50 last season, and they had the number 1 ranked defense in the Sun Belt last year. They did struggle a little bit in Sun Belt play, but they're looking to do big things in 2025 under Bob Chesney. Their key games this year are at Louisville and at Liberty. That game at Liberty, I think, is going to be a really, really fun one. I do think JMU has a very, very, very strong, they have a very strong chance to make the playoff if they run the table. And I think since moving to the FBS in 2022 under Cignetti, under Chesney, they've just been really, really consistent. They haven't been bad yet. So I think James Madison should be considered by most people to make the college football playoff. They definitely are by me, but ultimately I think I'm going to go with Boise State to make the playoff again at the number 12 spot. I just think they're the best roster. I just think they had the best roster in the group of 5. Tulane is definitely up there. They recently got Jake Ratzliff from BYU. They have a ton of quarterbacks in that room. It's going to be I don't necessarily know if Ratzliff is going to outright win the job because he did get there so late with the whole weird situation he's got going on at BYU, or he had going on at BYU. I think some guys were there longer, so I don't know if he's necessarily a shoe-in. He definitely is the best in that room as far as overall skill, but I do think they're going to have an actual, battle over at Tulane. Tulane is up there with the best roster along with Boise State. I think JMU has a really good roster with Alonzo Barnett at quarterback. Navy also is returning a ton of guys from a 10-win season last year. But ultimately, I am going to go with Boise State. A lot of yapping for the group of 5 section here, but I did consider 3 teams, and this Boise State was ultimately the team that I ended up going on with. Moving on to the number 5 spot, who Boise State would play in this playoff that I have predicting, the Penn State Nittany Lions. They would not be my Big Ten champion in this scenario, although a lot of people I see are predicting Penn State to win the Big Ten this year. Penn State is loaded. They are bringing up a lot of guys from last year. They're returning 14 guys from last season, and they made the biggest coaching splash this season, mainly for a coordinator. They hired Jim Knowles from the national champion Ohio State last season. They replaced Tom Allen, who went to go to Clemson. Jim Knowles is a huge hire as a defensive coordinator for Penn State. He completely changed Ohio State's defense as their coordinator. ultimately helping them win a national championship. And Penn State hiring Jim Knowles was really, really, really great for their offseason. They did lose a lot of guys like Abdul Carter, Tyler Warren to the draft, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Amari Evans to Washington. But they did retain some key guys on offense like Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, their whole backfield. Key guys like Danny Dennis Sutton, Tony Rojas at linebacker. Then they reloaded at wide receiver, getting Trevor Pena from Syracuse, Kyron Hudson from USC. They had a lot of staff turnover and lost a lot on the front seven, but they kept a lot. I'm saying a lot. But, just get used to it. You know what I mean? Repeating things is a part of life. They did keep a lot of guys from last season that helped them, make a playoff appearance, a Big Ten championship appearance. They were in the Final Four of the playoff last season. They did lose to Notre Dame, but they kept a lot of good guys that helped them make the Final Four last season. They kept 14 starters. This is a really, really good Penn State team. Penn State's really, really good. I would not be surprised if they win the Big Ten this season. I don't have them doing that, but I would not be surprised if they do. I have them at the number 5 spot for a reason. Penn State is really, really, really good. Moving on to the 6-11 matchup, we're going to cover the number 11 seed first. And this is my first head scratcher here. But I personally don't think it's a head scratcher. I have the Illinois Fighting Illini. Yes, you heard me right. The Illinois Fighting Illini making the college football playoff this season at the number 11 seed. Now, last year, we saw a team similar to the stature of Illinois in Indiana making the playoffs. Nobody saw that coming. Absolutely nobody. I don't care who you are. If you predicted Indiana to make the college football playoff, you're lying. You just are. You did not predict Indiana to go to the playoff. You're wrong. I have Illinois making the playoff this season at the number 11 seed. And Illinois is returning. They are tied for second in returning the most starters in the entire country. They're returning 16 starters this coming season. Key guys like Luke Altmaier at quarterback and Gabe Jacobs at linebacker. He's a stud. Mispronunciations are also a part of life. Xavier Scott at safety, J.C. Davis at tackle. They're returning the entire offensive line. You rarely see that nowadays. The entire offensive line at Illinois is coming back along with their quarterback. Along with their quarterback. Their coordinators too. Both coordinators are back. It's just mainly they won 10 games last season and they're returning literally almost everybody except for their standout running back from last season. Except for their standing running back from last season, Josh McCray, who ended up transferring to Georgia. He was the Citrus Bowl MVP this past season. Yeah, I think Illinois is a really, really good football team. They were last year. They are this year, keeping most of the guys that helped them win 10 games last year in a Citrus Bowl win. It's just like, I don't know. Like I think returning production matters a lot in college football. The continuity for especially kids at 18 to 22-year-olds, like continuity for them is really, really, really important. And I think keeping both of your coordinators, returning most of your guys, and getting some good coaches in that system, like ex Ball State head coach Mike New, and James White, former NFL running back, to help with developing running backs after the departure of Josh McCray. Illinois is looking really, really good this upcoming season in the Big Ten, and I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if they made the college football playoffs. Evident here that I have them predicting them to make the playoff. I really, really like Illinois this year. I think Illinois is really, really good. That is my case for them to make the playoff. I don't care if you disagree, okay? I have Illinois, okay? Now, they're not here. I will talk about another team I was teetering on putting at this 11 spot or in the in the field entirely was Texas Tech. Texas Tech had an unbelievable offseason. They loaded up this past season. They loaded up. And they have a lot of guys coming back. Micah Hudson decommitting from Texas A&M and coming back in the portal to Texas Tech was big for them at wide receiver. I think Texas Tech is going to be really, really, really good. I do think they will make the Big 12 championship with the winner that I have, making the playoff. We'll cover them later. I do think they'll probably be the 13 and, ultimately get left out here. But I think Texas Tech is going to be really, really good, and I would not be surprised if they ended up making the college football playoff this season. I think Texas Tech is unbelievable. Moving on to the number 6 seed who is playing Illinois in my playoff predictions here, the Georgia Bulldogs. Relatively low for their standards. They were the 3 seed last season, winning the SEC. Georgia lost a lot, but they're used to that. Georgia loses a lot every single season, upwards of, 8, 10, sometimes 15 guys getting drafted pretty much every offseason for Georgia. NFL factory they are. Georgia retained Mike Bobo at offensive coordinator. That was a controversial decision. Kirby Smart bringing back Mike Bobo with their offensive struggles last season. Carson Beck not really playing that well, getting hurt. Struggling at quarterback was, part of the reason why Georgia did not win another national championship last season. But they did keep most of their staff along with Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo, like I said, still some quarterback uncertainty. I mentioned this in the last episode. Like I said, SEC standings predictions, go watch it if you haven't seen it. Gunnar Stockton, it's looking like he's going to be the quarterback for this next season. He played one half in the SEC championship last season. Didn't play great. Again, he played Texas. People struggle against Texas. No big deal. But this season, he's got a full offseason, full camp. How is he going to look at starter? Finally being QB1 this season, how is he going to look? I have some questions. That is my main, gripe about Texas this coming season. Their defense, again, like always, is unbelievable. They have studs. Christian Miller at defensive tackle, KJ Bolden at defensive back, CJ Allen at linebacker. They are loaded on defense. Like I said earlier, the team they are playing in my playoff predictions right here, they got Josh McCray at running back from Illinois, Zachariah Branch from USC in the portal. Some good guys in the portal that they got. They lost a lot of guys in the offseason. 17 guys transferring out, 13 guys getting drafted. But Georgia, again, is used to that. They have a lot of guys getting drafted every season, and I think they'll be pretty decent this year in the SEC. I had them going 10-2 in my SEC standings predictions, and I think a 10-2 Georgia is a playoff lock. I don't think that's a very, very hot take here. Georgia is my number 6 seed in the 2025 college football playoff. My next seed, I believe, is my number 10. I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Made the national championship last year in very shocking fashion. I don't think many people predicted Notre Dame to make the national championship last season, but they did, especially after losing to Northern Illinois in week 2 or 3. I don't think anybody thought Notre Dame was going to make the playoff after losing to Northern Illinois. But that was their only loss on the season outside of the national championship loss to Ohio State. So Notre Dame definitely bounced back late in the season. Notre Dame is returning 11 guys from their national championship runner-up season from last year. They lost Broyles award-winning defensive coordinator Al Golden to the NFL. I don't remember exactly where he went, but they did lose him to the NFL, replaced him with Chris Ash, a very good, experienced defensive coordinator, but losing your Broyles award-winning coordinator that helped you make the national championship last season is going to be a big loss. They also lost a lot of guys to the draft. They lost quarterback Steve Angeli to the portal. Quarterback is going to be a real question for Notre Dame this upcoming season. Chris Carr, freshman quarterback, is he going to be able to step up and perform for them? We will see. They did get some good guys in the portal like Devontae Smith from Alabama, Jalen Stroman from Virginia Tech, and they retained most of their important players. Heisman candidate running back Jeremiah Love is back. He's going to have an unbelievable season because he is an unbelievable player, and I think he'll probably be the first running back up for the board in the draft next season. Jadarian Price and Ace Williams are also back. That running back room over at Notre Dame is unbelievable. Very, very good. They did get transfer Malik Fields from Virginia and Will Pauling from Wisconsin. They did keep most of their elite talent that they have. Jeremiah Love, Leonard Moore, Malachi Fields, a receiver also. A lot of good guys still on this Notre Dame team, and I think Notre Dame will make the playoff. Even who they start at quarterback, I really don't know. I think it's going to be C.J. Carr. But regardless of who they start, I think this Notre Dame team is playoff caliber. So I have them at the number 10 spot here. If you guys disagree, go in the comments. Let's have a discussion. Who do you guys think is going to make the college football playoff? My number 7 seed, who will face Notre Dame in the first round in my college football playoff bracket, the Oregon Ducks. Oregon had one of the better off seasons in the entire nation. Oregon just reloaded like crazy in the offseason. They did lose a lot. They're only returning 5 starters from the previous season, where they won the Big Ten championship in their first season in the Big Ten, and they were the number 1 seed in the college football playoff last year. They did change their wide receiver coach from Ross Douglas to Junior Adams. One of their coaching changes. They lost a lot. They're only returning 5 starters, but they did keep those starters that did come back pretty good. Evan Stewart at wide receiver, Mateo Uiagalelei coming back. Some good guys that could come back. The 5 starters that they did bring back are good pieces. What else is going on here with Oregon? They did bring in Mekhi Hughes from Tulane at running back. Oregon, they also have Dante Moore, who was a backup last season. Former number 1 overall quarterback recruit, signed with UCLA, and Chip Kelly. Oregon, I think, is going to be good. If they were good last year, the roster was really good, but I think if they were good last year in the Big Ten, they were undefeated up until they lost to Ohio State. I think Oregon is going to be pretty good this year. Dante Moore, I think, is their biggest question. His real first year starting. He wasn't the starter going into the season his freshman year at UCLA. I think this is his first real full year going into camp, expecting to start. Can Dante Moore deliver for the Oregon Ducks this season? Oregon's got a good roster. I believe he'll be all right. And that shows with me having them at number 7 here in the college football playoff. Oregon, I just think Dan Lanning is just a good coach, and he's just going to get it done. Regardless of the turnover here, I just think they did a good job to reload. My number, I think I have number 8 coming up. Number 8 seed in the college football playoff this coming season are the Alabama Crimson Tide. Tanner, you have them really low. I know. Alabama is returning a lot from the previous season. They also are bringing Ryan Grubb at offensive coordinator. Longtime offensive coordinator for Kalen DeBoer at Washington. I believe he was at Fresno State as well. And that duo right there, Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer, led Washington to the national championship a couple years ago, along with Michael Penix. That Washington team was really, really fun. If you want to have a good time, go look up some Washington 2023 highlights. That team was really, really good. Roma Dunze at wide receiver. The team was really good. Kalen DeBoer was the head coach of that team, and he was the national runner-up for 2023. He's now the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. You guys know this. He brought in Ryan Grubb. He was fired by the Seattle Seahawks, and now he comes in to coordinate with Kalen DeBoer. I really thought he was going to do that last season, but he accepted an NFL job. Nothing wrong with that, but it didn't work out. He comes back with his friend at Alabama. Alabama is a really, really good roster this season. They have 14 starters coming back. But they did lose a lot of production from last season too. Justice Haynes transferring to Michigan, Devon Payne Jr. transferring to Michigan as well. Devontae Smith, like I said earlier about Notre Dame, he transferred to Notre Dame. Elijah Pritchett transferring to Nebraska. A lot is going on here at Alabama. But they did bring Xavier Horton, their wide receiver from Miami, joins Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, and they have one of the best receiving trios in the SEC, I believe. It's going to help out quarterback Ty Simpson. He's from Tennessee, like I am. He went to Martin High School, but I'm not very sold on Ty Simpson yet. He hasn't started a full season for Alabama yet. The final season of Nick Saban at Alabama, he started him. They had a lot of uncertainty at quarterback before finally they went with Jalen Milroe. He started a game against USF, and ultimately he was replaced by Tyler Buckner that game. So, not a lot of experience prior to this season. But still, I have my uncertainties about Ty Simpson. Alabama has gotten it done before with Nick Saban as the head coach with not so great quarterback play. A.J. McCarron, he is an Alabama legend, quote unquote, but he wasn't great, like at all, and that showed when he went to the NFL. A.J. McCarron wasn't very good, and they won a national championship or two with him there. They won a national championship with Jake Coker. I don't think most of you know who Jake Coker is, and they won a national championship with him at quarterback. That's when Derrick Henry won the Heisman Trophy, and they beat Clemson. Alabama has shown that they can get it done before, but that was with Nick Saban head coach. Kalen DeBoer is the head guy now. Can he deliver with a not so great quarterback? Is what it's looking like. I'm rooting for Ty Simpson. I hope he balls out. I'm just telling you, he doesn't look amazing, and can he help them go to the college? Can he help them go to the college football playoff this season? I think he will, but, can he go beyond that? Can they win the whole thing? I think the roster's good enough, just outside of quarterback, it's a question. Moving on to the number 9 seed here in the college football playoff, I have the Arizona State Sun Devils. This is the team I mentioned earlier, I have beating Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. Arizona State is returning the most starters from last season in the entire country. And if you guys remember, they made the playoff last season and they won the Big 12. So Arizona State looking pretty good. They bring back Sam Leavitt. Is it Leavitt or Leavitt? I actually don't know. I'm going to say Leavitt just because I think that's what most announcers have been saying on TV. They bring back Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson at wide receiver. Unbelievable duo at quarterback receiver. They kept their entire coaching staff last season from their playoff berth. Their Broyles Award finalist, offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo, coming back this season. They bring in guys at running back like Kanye Udo, and a lot of secondary depth, a lot of offensive depth. They reloaded this season, and they kept a lot of guys that helped them make the playoff last season. Cam Scadaboo, obviously not there anymore, but I think overall, roster-wise, I think Arizona State has the best roster in the Big 12. I think BYU is up there. Same with Texas Tech. Texas Tech is going to be unbelievable. I think it wasn't really a coin flip. It was more like 60-40, but my decision between Arizona State and Texas Tech. But it's really close between those two. Their rosters are really similar, and I think Texas Tech is going to be really good this year. Regardless if they make the playoff, they're going to be really, really good. I could easily see them winning 10 games this year. I think Texas Tech is really good. But I do have Arizona State pulling it out of the Big 12 and ultimately making a second straight college football playoff appearance behind Sam Leavitt at quarterback and Kenny Dillingham at head coach. My top four teams in the college football playoff this upcoming season, pretty good. They're pretty good. Starting with the number 4 team, I have the Texas Longhorns. I don't have them winning the SEC. Again, go watch the last episode. It was a banger. I have them as the SEC runner-ups, and I do think a 11-2 SEC runner-up Texas makes the college football playoff. I really do. If not them, then Penn State. I think the 4 or 5 can really be interchanged between Penn State and Texas, but I did give it to Texas here because of SEC bias. I know, not honest journalism on my part. Texas bringing back 9 guys, 9 starters from their playoff team last season. They kept all of their coordinators from last season as well. Obviously, Sarkisian coming back to coach. They are starting Arch Manning this year. But they lost 13 starters from their team last season. Quinn Ewers got drafted. Cameron Williams got drafted. And Arch Manning, like I said, is coming in to start at quarterback for them. They did load this team with a good transfer class, and they are bringing in the number 1 overall recruiting class in the entire country. I think every site has them at number 1. ESPN 24/7. Every team, every site has them as the number 1 recruiting class. They are bringing in a stacked class this season, and I think it's going to show on the field. And they're going to be the number 4 seed in the college football playoff. My biggest gripe is not like their defense is going to be really, really good. Malik Muhammad, Colin Simmons off the edge, and Anthony Hill, who Elijah said last episode is the best defensive player in the SEC. I agree. I think Texas on defense is going to be really, really good again. It's their offense. Their offense is not bad. I just had questions about Arch Manning. I don't think he's going to suck. I just think, is he going to be as unbelievable as people are making him out to be? I don't know if the Heisman odds are out for the season yet, but I believe Arch is going to open as the Heisman favorite this season. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not there with Arch yet because I just have to see more. He did start a few games last season, and he did come in on some goal line situations, to run the ball in. But a full season from Arch Manning is coming up. From what we've been hearing from his family, from other people, he's probably going to stay again next season as well. We're going to get 2 years of starting for Arch Manning. I just got to see more from him. I believe in him. I think he's going to be really good. I just don't know yet. I just got to see it, But I do, if they make the 4 seed in the playoff, he probably played pretty good. So, yeah, Arch Manning, I think he's going to be pretty decent if Texas is going to be the number 4 seed in the playoff. I have Texas as the 4 seed as the SEC runner-up this coming season. The number 3 seed in my college football playoff. The Ohio State Buckeyes. Last year's national champion had a heck of a run in the playoffs last year. Will Howard delivering another playoff national championship for the Buckeyes. First for Ryan Day at head coach. They did lose both of their coordinators from last season. Like I said earlier, Jim Knowles off to Penn State. Matt Patricia coming in and playing DC for them. Matt Patricia has been a pretty decent defensive coordinator in the NFL for Belichick and the Patriots. He wasn't a great head coach or a great offensive coordinator. He's all right on defense. But I did hear when he was, calling defensive plays, when he was a head coach of the Lions, he wasn't disguising coverages. I feel like that's a must, especially at the professional level in the NFL. We'll see how he is as a defensive coordinator for the Buckeyes this coming season. Brian Hartline coming in and being the full-time offensive coordinator. Tyler Bowen hired as the offensive line coach as well. A huge blow losing Jim Knowles. Their defense was the main reason why they won the national championship last season. But their quarterback room also. If a team has a question in this playoff, most of the teams here have questions at quarterback, outside of Boise, Illinois, Oregon, and especially Arizona, and then Texas as well. I'll say Texas too. Ohio State has the least experienced quarterback room in Ryan Day's tenure as head coach. Julian Sayin looked like he's going to start at quarterback this season. Hasn't played. Hasn't started yet. But like we've seen from Ryan Day, guys coming in and they just come in and deliver. CJ Stroud being the best example of that. Freshman CJ Stroud was really, really good. So we'll see. From Julian saying he was a top recruit in California, I think, committed to Ohio State. But they did bring back, like I said, they brought back 9 starters from last season's Ohio national championship winning team. Jeremiah Smith being the best one. Caleb Downs, tight end Max Clare. Really, really good squad. Carnell Tate as well. Ohio State's looking good this season. I think they are going to win the Big Ten. I have them as the 3 seed, the 3rd best conference champion in the field, my field, this upcoming season. I think they don't repeat as Big Ten champions. Oregon was a Big Ten champion last season. I think Ohio State comes in and wins the Big 12 title. In this scenario, Penn State would lose 2 straight Big Ten championships. At number 2 in the playoff this coming season, I have the Clemson Tigers. Clemson this season is looking really, really, really good. Their offense, their whole roster even, is looking unreal. They are returning 16 starters from the previous season, which is tied for 2nd in the entire country. They made a rare splash in the portal, bringing in Purdue defensive end Will Helt and wide receiver Tristan Smith. And they kept some stars like Cade Klubnik, TJ Parker, and Peter Woods. And they have a strong receiver room. This team, Clemson, is going to be really, really good. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made it all the way to the big dance, the big national championship. I think, especially in that ACC, I think Clemson is going to be really, really good. Like I said, they kept their main guys in TJ Parker, Peter Woods, and quarterback Cade Klubnik, which was huge for them. He's coming back as a senior. Clemson also, among these teams, doesn't have a question at quarterback. I think Cade Klubnik is really, really good, and he's going to lead them to the number 2 seed to the college football in the college football playoff this upcoming season. Yeah, Clemson has a stacked roster. Yeah, and that leaves my number 1 overall seed. If you guys saw the last episode, SEC standings, you guys know who this is by process of elimination. I have the LSU Tigers as the number 1 overall seed in this upcoming college football playoff. My second kind of surprise here, along with Illinois, maybe Boise, maybe Arizona State repeating. I have LSU. I think this is the biggest surprise of my bracket here. I don't think many people are having LSU as the number 1 overall seed in the playoff this year. I explained it mainly again, referencing the last episode, I explained that mainly in our SEC standings predictions. LSU, I think they had the best offseason in the entire country out of anybody. They're only returning 7 starters from last season, but they didn't have a lot of coaching turnover. They hired Kyle Williams as their defensive line coach this upcoming season, and ex-Florida State offensive coordinator Alex Atkins as their tight end coach and run game coordinator. That doesn't sound very significant, but LSU is bringing in a lot of key pieces in the portal, like Barian Brown at wide receiver, Nick Anderson at wide receiver. Oh boy, this LSU team is looking unreal. They did lose out on Bryce Underwood. He flipped to Michigan last minute. We all know that. I think Michigan is going to start Bryce Underwood. That's why I don't really have that. I'm considering having Michigan in here, at the 11th spot. I was in between Michigan, Texas Tech, Illinois. Ultimately ended up going with Illinois. But LSU here, I have them as my number 1 overall seed. Garrett Nussmeier coming back to play quarterback for them. That was a big question, huge question for them. Is Garrett Nussmeier going to come back? And if he does it, it's going to completely change the trajectory of this LSU football program. I think LSU's offseason was the best in the country. They had the best transfer portal class in the country, according to 24/7. And I think, this defense under defensive coordinator Blake Baker, he's bringing in a 5-star freshman quarterback, or freshman corner, I think is going to be unbelievable. This LSU team is going to be unreal. You guys that are doubting me, maybe you guys have them making the playoff, but not having them as the 1 seed. Hop on the train before we get off the tracks here in a couple weeks. I think LSU is going to be unreal this year. I have them winning the SEC. I'm not going to predict the entire playoffs just because, I don't want to get too cooked at the end of the season. But this is how my no games played start of the playoff bracket is looking like right now in the preseason. It's going to change throughout the year. This playoff bracket, I'm going to get clipped for in the middle of the season. It's going to look bad. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I go 12 for 12 here. That is always the goal for these predictions. But that is going to end this episode predicting the playoffs. This was really fun. I didn't get to do anything with the playoff last year. There was so much to talk about with the playoff towards the end of the season where it's like who's going to be the 12, who's going to be the third, like with the whole South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama, SMU, all four of those guys, all four of those teams at the end of the season vying for that final spot in the playoff. Like, which group of 5 teams is going to make it out this season? I was in between 3, JMU, Boise State, Navy. Memphis could be up there. Who knows? Tulane is also up there. I think South Florida has a chance to be up there as well. A lot of teams, UNLV, Alex Orji, Dan Mullen coming in there. I think a lot of teams are viable for a lot of spots here in this playoff. Like I said, I was in between Michigan. I was in between Texas Tech. Well, watch out for Texas Tech. They're going to be really good this year. I think a lot of teams are viable for the playoffs this year. A lot of good teams here here in college football this upcoming season, and this playoff will definitely look different than how I have it here at the end of the season. But that is going to be the end of this episode, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when I upload a podcast episode. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Peace out.